Tēnā koutou, kia ora koutou. Welcome to this video about the new moon in Aries that's coming up next week on Wednesday, 22nd of March. We're going to get into the astrology of that from the point of view of Western tropical astrology adjusted for the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Tirani, whatever you want to call us. My name is Fiona of sunandmooncalendar.nz, and the first thing I'm going to do before we get into what's going on, I'm going to turn over the calendar to the new lunar month, the new marama. So here we go. So we've been in the month of Pisces, turning over, and now we are moving into Aries energy, which is the start of the zodiac according to Western tropical astrology. Not so much for us here perhaps because we are in autumn equinox, but it is a real big time of new beginnings. We're going to get into that. It's called Aries 1 in the calendar because we have 2 new moons in Aries this year. That's quite unusual. So let's get into what's going on. There's a lot going on, lots of new beginnings. The new moon in Aries takes place at 20 past 6 in the morning of 22nd of March on the Wednesday. At the exact time of the new moon, it will be below the horizon for us here in this country. There are the sunrise times around about an hour later after the exact new moon. So here is an image of the dawn sky before the sun comes up if you manage to get up early in the morning and had a good view of the northeast and the east, and you will see these stars, Rehua, Poututerangi and Otamarako. They're all markers of the different months for different rohe and iwi and hapu around the country. Pluto will be there, Neptune will be there. We won't see them because they're invisible without telescopes. If you see the moon, it will be briefly as a tiny little sliver, and only if you have a very good view of the east. I'm not even sure you'll see it at all. You might see Saturn though, if you have a good view of the east. And so with autumn equinox, we're moving into the last quarter of the year from the point of view of our solar year. So let's talk about that and look at where we're up to. If you see that curve there, that golden curve, that is the sun getting higher in the sky from last winter, moving up to summer solstice in December where it was at its highest in the sky, and then it's coming down, leading up to winter solstice or the turn of the year in June, and that leads us into Matariki season. So you can see each lunar month marked on there as well. The little grey hump starting from new moon, which is a little dark spot, going up to full moon, which is a little white spot. And there are roughly 13 lunar months in each year marked on there. And halfway between summer solstice and winter solstice, and that's where we are now, we have the sun with day and night of equal length, the sun halfway between its points in the sky where it turns at summer and winter solstice. So it's autumn equinox. So of course we have autumn equinox every year, but it doesn't always fall in line with a new moon. We have the equinox on the Tuesday the 21st, and the next morning we've got a brand new moon in Aries, sign of beginnings. There are many significators for new beginnings with this new moon. And whatever is going on with the astrology, whatever are the energetic influences from the planets at the time of the equinox or the solstice, that sets the tone for the following quarter of the year or the next 3 months. Here is a new moon as it's placed on the zodiac wheel at 0 degrees of Aries, another sign of new beginnings because 0 is about potentiality. This new moon will be imbued with the energy of Aries, and Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. And Mars has come back into strength after being retrograde over November, December and January. It was intense at that time. It was red in the sky. You might have seen it over to the north after sunset. It was intense, but it was frustrated. It wasn't going anywhere for a while. We were reviewing things, and now it is moving forward. It's out of shadow. It's about to move into Cancer. Mars, being now in a much stronger position, is bringing strength to the beginnings of this new moon. And the element of Aries is fire, sparky, enthusiastic, energetic, sometimes blunt and honest. Under Aries energy, we have to remember our tact at times, but sometimes it's a good idea under Aries just to take action without overthinking it. And the modality is cardinal. Aries really likes to go places, not muck around, competitive, likes to win. And on the way to winning with the Mars energy, Aries enjoys the fight. However, you might want to get going, but it still could be a good idea to pause a little bit at the new moon and think, or even not think, actually go into a feeling state. What does your gut instinct tell you? And because of the Pluto action we're going to talk about a little bit later, what does your soul tell you want to move into? This is a really big new start, this new moon, and sometimes the thinking, the logic is not the right answer. It might be time to take action without really good logical reasons for it if you're feeling that strongly. Start your new steps a couple of days after the new moon. Plant the seed, make the phone call, send the email. If you follow maramataka, these might be the days of hoata or aue or auenuku. Okay. So let's look at what else is going on this new moon. It's not just any new moon. Okay, so many new beginnings because the new moon's at 0 degrees, because there are 2 new moons in Aries. This is the first one. We've got Pluto going into Aquarius. We've got Mars going into Cancer after all that time in Gemini. We've got Saturn just recently moved into Pisces. We've got the first eclipse in Aries next new moon, not this time, but we're coming up to that. And we've got the equinox. Okay, so Saturn just moved into Pisces on the 8th of March. And now bringing more structure, we're bringing more order to our spiritual life, to our creativity, to our imaginative world, to our compassion. I'm going to spend a bit of time now talking about Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is coming up on the 24th of March. This only happens once in 248 years, so it's not something that any of us alive now today have ever experienced. So let's look at Pluto. It's a very cold, distant, dark rock, very, very far from the sun. It is still regarded as a planet in astrology, although it has been demoted in astronomy. And astrologers love the fact that there is a heart shape on the side of Pluto. There aren't any really, really great photos of it because, of course, it's pretty hard to get a photo of Pluto. But Pluto in astrology represents some very deep, deep parts of our soul. So a little bit about Pluto. Very slow moving. As I said, 248 years to get around the sun, and it has an oval orbit. It doesn't go round in a straight circle. It moves only 1 to 3 degrees a year. During that time, of course, it'll be going forwards and then back with its retrograde. So it does retrograde regularly, just like the other planets. And because of that, it is moving into Aquarius until June. And then it moves back into Capricorn, and it's going to go back and forth, Aquarius, Capricorn, for a couple of years because of its retrograde regular pattern. Okay, roughly 20 years in each sign. Because of that, we have whole generations of people who are born under Pluto in a certain sign. And if you're interested in knowing about that, I'm going to talk more about it after I finish the main part of this video, if you want to hang on a bit longer at the end. Pluto is known as a planet of power despite its small size and its distance. It can be about great power or great loss of power, great wealth or the great loss of wealth. It is about destruction. It can destroy, and from there, like the phoenix from the ashes, regeneration can occur. People with strong Pluto might have a kind of magnetism about them, some kind of powerful, almost sexual undercurrent. And Pluto is also to do with themes of sexuality and deep intimacy. And when it's used well, that can be absolutely very special. In the tarot card, Pluto is associated with the tower, and the tower being destroyed because it's about this destruction and regeneration, death, rebirth. And through that there can be elimination, purification. What is rotten can be exposed and cleaned out. In our personal lives, wherever we have Pluto, that is an area of life where we will have painful, transformative experiences. Even if it's just something that from the outer circumstances it looks like it's not a big deal, inside it you might feel like you've been turned inside out. It's a deep crisis. In terms of the world, because Pluto is so long in a sign, it affects world politics, geopolitical stuff and themes, social movements. It brings power to themes and issues and topics, and then it can also destroy that power and expose dodgy stuff that's going on in those areas. So let's look at Pluto in Capricorn and Pluto in Aquarius. In Capricorn, since 2008, we've seen a focus on top-down hierarchical control in organizations, and that's been building. They've been acting out, they've been acting kind of authoritarian in many cases. And then in the last few degrees of Capricorn, 28, 29 degrees where we are now, we've seen some corruption exposed, and we've seen some transformation, and that will continue as Pluto goes into Aquarius and things get sorted out from the Capricorn mess. When I say Capricorn mess, I say that because Pluto can bring out some of the negative qualities or the extreme qualities of a sign, and every sign has its higher and its lower expressions. From this year until 2044, that's over 20 years, we're going to experience Pluto in Aquarius, bringing out the power themes of Aquarius. This is likely to intensify the power of the people in terms of grassroots organizations with a flatter structure. Capricorn is the top-down structure. Aquarius is a flatter, devolved power across all the people. More power to community organizations, more power to grassroots organizations, more development of innovative, unconventional, unusual ideas and technology. That could lead us to some exciting places. It could lead us to some scary places. We shall see what happens. And towards the end of Pluto in Aquarius, once we get to the 2040s, we might be questioning then and exposing some of the excesses of some of the new technologies. I'm sure there'll be lots of AI and robotics and developments and communications and social media. And we also might question some of those grassroots organizations, because one of the weaknesses of that is the weakness of democracy, and that's where you get the tyranny of the majority, where the individual or the minority voice can be missed out. We shall see. Who knows if we'll still be talking about this in 20 years' time. But whatever happens on the world stage or the nationwide stage with Pluto moving into Aquarius, this is also happening on the personal level, and it could be a good idea to take note over the next couple of months with these first steps of Pluto in Aquarius. Do you feel any different? And perhaps this might be at a deep soul level, like I said, the reptilian brain. There might be some instinctual difference or a feeling of newness that's unfamiliar. There may not be a memory of it in your ancestral memory, or you may have a feeling of it not being in incarnations or previous lifetimes. Take note. Let's see what we can notice. Things to think about with this new moon in Aries. So you can use these questions as journal prompts or meditation prompts. What do you want to initiate for yourself? Aries is about me first. What do you want for you? What makes you feel enthusiastic and alive and energized? And where do you need to step in and claim some space? Even if this means at times that you need to be competitive or have a little bit of a scrap in order to claim that space. So that's the me first side of Aries. But we also have this new beginning in Aquarius with Pluto in Aquarius, and Aquarius one of its expressions is humanitarian visions for large groups of people or for the world in general, for society in general. So what can you do that perhaps helps you, and it puts yourself first with that Aries energy, but it could even have benefits for humanity at large? So there we go, everyone. That is my explanation about the new moon that's coming up in Aries just after the autumn equinox. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. I've also put a donation button on that, hopefully, if I can work it out. If you'd like to stay on now, I'm going to talk about the Pluto generations because that's quite interesting stuff. If not, see you another time and all the best for your new moon. Moving on now to the Pluto generations.